Hello again, viewers, and welcome back to part 4 of the Chevy 2500 Crew Cab series, where we get to start tackling that brake line. We're going to head over to the 2500 and put a new brake line in it. And I had a conversation with the owner about the condition of the back brakes. Don't have to worry about him driving it down the road with the brakes the way they are, because we're going to be putting some, not a sponsor, brand new Napa brake pads in here. So let's get down there and get that truck back on the road. I got 4 brake pads. On this side they all pretty much look the same, but there's a difference in the squealers. These 2 pads both have 2 squealers each, and these 2 pads each have 1 squealer opposite side. Again, squealer is always on the leading edge. This is going to be an outboard that runs with the doubles or inboards. So this one's going to be sitting right up here on the top on this side. So this one's going over to the other side. There's our new hardware. This side's pretty good, but we got them. We're going to use them. Everything in there nice and clean. It's not rusted up yet. Got it all over my hand though. I'm going to pull the bracket off real quick and just put some anti-seize where these come in contact, and then reassemble them with the new pads. Okay, so I don't know if you guys noticed what I just discovered here, is that if I put the pad with the 2 squealers on the inboard side, one of the squealers strikes down here. But if I take one of the brake pads that only has the 1 squealer and put it over on this side, we don't have any more interference, and the double-sided one can go on the outside. So go ahead and put this assembly back in place. Try not to lose a brake pad in the process. Grab one of the old brake pads. Probably should be squirting brake fluid on the ground someplace because of the broken brake line. Oh, there it is. About to trip on my tools. Let's get something underneath that real quick. Break out the new tube of goo. Now this is the one where getting it in from the backside is going to be really difficult to do. Wipe off the bottom one. Put some fresh goo on that one. Silicone grease. Goop it up. You don't want it so much in there you're going to hydrolock it, but you want to make sure that you get it in there. Now it's really important that when you get these pins all the way down in, that you make sure that the boot is up over the top, up against the head of the bolt. You don't want any exposed metal or any place that moisture or water can get in. So go ahead and thread those all the way in. Double wrench method, get this good and tight. Don't have to go crazy with these, but I like to get them tight nonetheless. And this is just a lazy man's way of getting tight. Alright, I'll go get the other side whipped together real quick, and then we'll get to tackling that brake line. leaf springs make a good coffee cup holder. This side we already did the anti-seize on, so I'm just going to lift this up, switch out the pads, do the so-called pad slap, but everything else is already done in here, so that's all we've got to do is just change out the new pads for the old ones that we tried to make not such a disaster. Definitely going to add some grease to this too, and now that I think of it, I'm going to pull the other one out for the same reason. That's just clearly not enough grease in there to start with. That little grease is just asking for moisture to get in there and rust everything up on you. You can't have so much grease in there that it causes a hydro lock, but you want to make sure that you got at least enough grease around here anyways in Salt Belt. You want to make sure that you've got at least enough in there to displace water. Again, spring's in the way. Instant coffee. I haven't gone out and bought a store-bought coffee in, well, since this crap started. I don't trust people enough to be responsible, so it is what it is. It's good enough for me. They go in nice and easy, they move around nice and easy. I'm happy with that. Caliper back down. See, I want to add some more grease to that first. And I'm just going to take the grease and just add it right into the back of the boot. Probably about a ½ inch worth. Okay, after clearing up some memory space in my memory card, I can get back in here and show you what's happening right here. This boot isn't going all the way up on the bolt. So we've got to get this up on that bolt before securing this tight. Make sure the same thing done on the bottom one. That's a little tricky, so let me set you down. Probably be better off getting a pick underneath this thing, but I'm going to be very gentle with the screwdriver. Try to get underneath, there we go, get underneath the edge of the boot, and then pull it up. Oh, they I've got it up here. You just need to walk it all the way around the edge. And give it a couple little squeezes, get the flip inside out. So that's what it looks like when you're done. And you pull out a little bit on it so you can see there. But this right here, that's not going to leak. Now let's see if we can figure out where that brake fluid's coming from. Actually, we'll skip that. We'll go straight on right now into getting that brake line put in the bottom of the truck. That's what this part was supposed to be all about anyways. It's getting up in here. We're going to take this piece, find where it couples down underneath. Somebody put it in sections. So we're just going to disconnect the section. We're going to take this one out all the way up to here. Get this out right here. And get right up there to that 90 degree. Disconnect from there. We'll start running the line from this end and work it down that way. We're going to flare down there in the middle last. I learned a long time ago when it comes to these things, don't even bother with the wrenches, go straight for the vice grips, because you're going to end up with stuff you're breaking anyways. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to break this off just to get it out of the way. That was pretty easy to do. Now this 90 degree is also broken, so we're gonna end up having to zip tie this back up when we're done. Ugh. Yuck, rust everywhere. Alright, now this piece is inside that piece, so we're going to grab right a hold of this outer one first and grind some of the dust and dirt off of it. Get a little bit of a shape to it. And we'll make sure we got a pretty good bite into it. And we'll take this one on the opposite direction. This one you're going to want it really, 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 really tight. Now, squeeze the two wrenches towards each other. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it's rusted really good, so this is going to be a little more challenging and probably not reusable when I'm done with it. Definitely not going to be reusable when I'm done with it. I might end up ruining this rubber hose too. Oh, there we go, it turned. almost there. There, we got that end out. I don't think we're going to be able to reuse it though. I don't think it's worth trying to reuse, but we'll see what we got to work with. I gotta just call this ghetto auto repair, but yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's a good thing that I like to keep a lot of extra parts. There's these right here. These will both fit. There's my 1/4-inch line. And the section of old line. And I got a double flaring. This was a metric set, English set. The metric set kind of, yeah. I've got other ways of rigging that for the time being. That's what this bolt's for. So if I have to use it, I still can. Now, let's see. The junction that we're going to be going for is right about here. So we're going to run a line from here up across the top of the frame, up towards the back. We're going to put the 90-degree in it and then put the end on it. So, probably help if I got these all over to one side first. Just go the other way with it. Well, I get it kind of basically semi-straight. Doesn't have to be perfect. Going from back there down to here, so we still need to go another couple inches or so. That's getting any of the curves that's still in here we don't want in it out of it. And we got to snake that up through now. But what I'm going to do before I snake that up through, I'm going to put the 90-degree in this, and then we can start getting this one flared. You know, not that I need to practice, but I intended to record showing you how to flare this, so before I go putting this line in, I'm going to cut this flare off. So I'm going to show you guys again from the very beginning how to go about doing a double flare on a 1/4-inch line. It's really actually quite easy to do, but you also need to emphasize that your connector is already on the line before you begin the flaring. Otherwise, you won't be able to get the end on, and you'll end up having to cut this off anyways. But I wanted to show you guys this right from the start. And then the end comes off. That's what it looks like when you nip the end off of it. You don't want to take a chance of that ending up in somebody's tire. That would be not likely, but it would be bad. And you know, just this little itty bitty tubing cutter cuts from 1/2 inch down. As long as this little cutting wheel is nice and sharp, things relatively easy to use. So we're going to pretend that this line was straight to start with. And we take the end, put the end on so that the thread's facing out. Take your flaring tool, slide it into the appropriate hole. In this case, we're using 1/4 inch line. And then using your 1/4 inch adapter, see if I can show you here, use the steps. This one here, that one over there, the steps are a little bit different than this, but basically they give you a step to measure with, and what you're going to do is measure from the edge of the brake line to that step down flush to the tool. That's going to give you just the right depth to do a double flare. So once you've got it down there, I'm going to come back just a little bit because there is a burr on the edge of this that's pushing me down a little, but right to like that. And then tighten up the closest nut first, and then with the wrench tighten up the other one. Now you're going to want to tighten this up. Bend that a little bit, I'll bend it back later. Tighten this up to the point where, you know, this thing is closed as far as you can get it, if not all the way. Now that will keep your brake line from moving anywhere. Take your 1/4 inch die, push your 1/4 inch die into it. Press over the top. You have just enough room to get in there. And then holding the whole assembly, turn it in the direction you're going to turn the, you know, the centerpiece when you tighten it. Make sure everything is centered. Wiggle it around until you can't get any more wiggle on it. Everything should look just like that. And then begin tightening it down. And you're going to tighten it down until this bottom is right against this plate. Once it's all the way down to the bottom, bring it back up. Start by hitting you with the wrench. Got your safety glasses on, right? And the helmet. And now you have what's called a bubble flare. Now we're going to go one more step, and we're going to take that tool, the anvil tool or whatever you call this piece, I'm not right off the top of my head, not sure. Thread this all the way down into the middle. Again, pivot the whole assembly, wiggle it around, make sure everything's centered, and then tighten this down until it's well seated. And what this is doing is it's closing that bubble into a double. And once it's all the way squashed down in there to the point where your flare is level with the top of the tool, we'll go ahead and release the press. And then that's what your flare looks like when you're done. Now you can go ahead and release the tool from it. It's kind of awkward doing this in front of you guys this way. I don't normally stick my tools in people's faces. It's kind of rude. But you guys want to see this, so hopefully I've got the camera situated where this works for you guys. And then go ahead and remove the tool. And that's what your flare looks like when you're done. Just clean up the debris on this. Watch yourself because there might be little sharp edges. Go ahead and slide your fitting back up and there's your flare. Now there's the holder right there that we're going to be putting it into. And then this whole assembly here has to get bent that way. Well, maybe not. Either way, this has got to come up. It's going to sit right about there. Ouch. It's getting tricky because if you're not straight, you'll never know it. Alright, there we go. Now we can go ahead and tighten that down. I want to use the vice grips underneath it this time if I can. And I'd probably be better off getting the right size wrench for this, but I'm laying flat on my back right now, I don't care. Now notice how I'm using this as my lever now to tighten this, because I don't want to stress that joint any more than it already has been. This we don't want really ridiculously tight. Now, add a little bend to this right here. Smack my head off the bottom of the truck a few times. And get right up in your way for a moment. Now we can get this up and over and down into its holder there. Fold down on it, get it away from the frame. And now we can continue down on the other end, cutting it and putting a flare on the end down there. And getting in this close to you guys, I probably should be wearing a mask right now, but that's where we're going with this line. And we're gonna unspool a little bit more, disconnect this couple right here, and leave this weird craziness in here. But that'll give us some wiggle room, and we'll pull this line down, get it flared, get it right up in here so we can set this part right here in this holder. Alright. Now that that's done, and get that out of the way. Now comes the fun part. Get to grab one of the ends. Slide your end up on first. Take two. Take your end, slide your end up. Get this piece on. Lightly snug it. Get the depth set with your die. And then crank it down good and tight. Double check your depth. See, I'm just a hair shallow. Let's double check it again. Make sure you're comfortable with your depth. The closer you get to perfect, the better your flare's gonna be. We all know that makes sense. I spent the weekend completely doing this with every brake line in a Yukon for an animal rescue company. I told them $1,800. I'm not going to say what I charged, but it was significantly less than that. Significantly. Alright. So that's going to push us right up where we want to be. Let's take the die. Die in. Centered up. Remember to turn this in the direction that you're going to be turning the wrench. Bubble flare. Take the die out of the way, hopefully not lose it. Very easy to do. Put a good cutter. Die back, press back up, and repeat. Loosen up the furthest one first. I loosened it. I was thinking about going the wrong way. And there we have our new flare. Alright, make sure you got your safety squints on, because this is Rustville right here. I'm going to go on this way with it, so... every tool has its moment. Get ready for it to start dripping. I need to move because it's gonna start dripping. And I need something to catch the mess with, so I'll be right back before I get any further. Hello again. Oh, a little tight under here. Now hopefully I won't get a bath. And we're working on the other side of this. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, here comes the brake fluid. We'll worry about that line in a minute. Get this line up to where it needs to be. Hopefully before we lose all of the brake fluid we do have. Careful about how you're situated next to the frame. Now we pull this line due to the merciful extra bends that they have in it. Oh no, running right down my arm. And then we can start tightening that mess up. Although it does not look like it's straight. And that's very, very, very important. There we go. Now I'm confident that's straight. Now I could go grab some paper towels. Absolutely not a fan of bathing in brake fluid. Alright. Now that this gasket was over and done with, I can get underneath here, tighten it up. Hopefully we're almost done dripping. Now we'll try to do this one so that you can see what we're doing this time. Get the little guy in here first. We're going to be using this one to hold it all still. Still got brake fluid all over the place. Hope you guys are still seeing all this okay. Yeah, I think you can see that. I don't want to get it so tight that I end up crushing the fitting, but I'm going to make sure I got a good grip on it regardless. That bleeder screw loose. Well, this one hasn't had any fluid in it yet. So we're going to set the cloth down underneath here while I go grab a hose and a container. So this hasn't started dripping yet. Now this is a hydraulic brake system, so this one's going to be just a little different as far as the way the pedal feels, but that's pretty much it. that in there pretty good. Stick that down in our pump it into bucket. Be better off doing this with a piece of clear hose, because then you can see the bubbles going through. But I've got enough confidence that I can handle that without. Just need a hammer to tap on this with and a 10mm wrench to work that with. Now, as long as the vehicle is sitting on level ground, where this bleeder sits is literally the highest. You got 2 pistons. All your air will go from one piston up into the next one, and then it'll cavitate up at the top, and it'll work its way up to a little passageway that comes from the highest point of the piston out to here. So as this fills up with fluid, you'll end up with a couple of little air bubbles here and there that'll get stuck, and you're going to end up basically trying to bleed those out. This helps facilitate knocking those air bubbles loose. Now, let's see if we are anywhere near yet where we're draining on this end. Okay, we are, and there are some little bubbles coming out of there. But this is telling me that this reservoir, or the pistons, are already filled up with fluid. There's some of the bubbles. It takes a little bit for it to work. It's all the way down through, but tighten that up for now, because remember, we haven't pumped the brake pedal yet to seat these brake pads in place, and this will also help to get the rest of the air out of the system. So we're going to pump that brake pedal real quick and then bleed the other side out, and then come back over here and make sure that there's no air left. So now I'm down to trying to get out a broken bleed screw, and I don't believe I have any taps designed for doing this. So I'm tapping a Torx into the broken, the head just come right off of it, and I'm going to hit it with some heat. It's not going to amount to much, it's just a regular propane torch. We're going to heat right across the top of where the fitting goes in and get this cast iron to try to expand a little bit. That's always good. We're going to have to tap that in quite a ways. I'll be real careful with it. Give us a little spritz. Come on. Recharge that camp pretty soon. Another spritz of oil. It's hot enough to smoke a little bit. We want to get it just a little bit hotter. Be careful of that brake hose. It's still not ready to move yet. That's not working. I probably need a real easy out. No, we're not winning this battle. Not today. Of course, I don't always give up all that easily either. This is not going so well. Not going so well at all. Geez, for a minute there I thought it actually moved. No such luck. Oh, you just can't win. Mobile mechanics, one thing, but having limited resources for stuff is such a pain. All right. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, it's going to be fun. So it looks like this caliper has to come off. We're going to have to go get that stupid bleed screw removed. Well, there you have it. How to replace a blown out brake line, flare your own ends, bleed the brake system out by yourself. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Chevy 2500. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget, you got no more excuses. Pick up those wrenches. Thanks to the world of editing, we're putting on a new caliper. And of course, start doing something and I lose a bolt. Oh, bolt's right there. Okay, but yeah, the bleeder screw on the other one broke off, and I made a couple of heroic attempts to remove it, and just made more of a mess. So it became a. It's easier to just replace it than to spend all day farting around with it. So we got the new caliper with the bracket.